Last weekend, my buddy Greg invited me over, claiming he had finally discovered his dog Max's hidden talent. Now, Greg is the type of guy who once tried to teach his cat to play fetch, so I was skeptical when he said, "Dude, you have to see this, Max can play chess." I figured it was worth the trip for the free pizza, and honestly, how often do you get to see a dog outwit someone at chess? I arrived, and Greg had the whole living room set up like the World Chess Championship, minus the anxious Russians and plus a lot more fur. Greg explained the rules. He'd move, then Max would respond. I sat down, trying not to laugh as Greg started narrating Max's moves, which, to be clear, mostly involved Max sniffing the pieces, occasionally drooling on a bishop, and wagging his tail like he was planning a particularly strategic nap. After a few moves, Greg started getting more animated. "See? Max is setting up the Sicilian defense." Meanwhile, Max was definitely setting up to chew on a rook. Greg was so enthusiastic I almost started to believe him, until Max lunged across the board and swallowed a pawn whole. At that point, Greg's strategy devolved into bribing Max with treats to capture the opposing pieces, which Max interpreted as a green light to attempt to eat the entire chess set. I was torn between calling a vet or a grandmaster. Greg, ever the optimist, insisted this was just aggressive gameplay and that Max was a dogged competitor. I watched in awe as Greg narrated, "Max sacrifices a knight for positional advantage." Right as Max gnawed the knight's head off and swallowed with a flourish. After an hour of this chaos, there were more pieces in Max than on the board, and Greg was still convinced his dog was a chess prodigy. I just shook my head and said, "Well, Greg, I guess Max really does have a positive strategy. He always goes straight for the pieces."